we anchored at this just magical place. A couple little islands in the middle of the Exumas that Dave knows the owner of the island. Or actually, there's two different islands right next to each other. But just, you know, I don't actually even want to tell you the name of the place because it's such a pristine location. But we're going to walk around a bit today and show you a little of the history of the these islands. There's really some interesting stories, whether it's drug trafficking history or even the German World War II history here. So it's quite fascinating. Then you walk out on this dock and it's an aquarium underneath you. You see everything. We saw some big lemon sharks, big eagle rays go right underneath the boat, and it's so crystal clear that you can see, you know, it's probably 12 or 15 feet deep. Oh, here's one right here. Here's a turtle swimming.
So the boat is docked right here, and today we're going to explore up by this runway, then this beach area, and then we're going to cross over to the separate island to explore this very old castle.
So getting ready to explore this island. What are we doing, Dave?
You're asking me? I've got no idea. No, we're going to, this is an island in the Exuma Island chain. It used to be owned by a crazy Englishman who used it as a resupply base for German submarines in the Second World War, and it's passed down over time to friends of the family, relatives, and now it's basically, yeah, it's pretty much deserted. It has a marine research base here, and they come down with students from time to time and have a look at the marine life around here, check the ecosystem, and yeah, that's basically it. Another one of the beautiful Exuma islands in the chain, so sit back and enjoy.
Here's an old runway, part of the island.
Yeah, you can still land here, but it's you've got to be a good pilot. The runway was built by Mr. El Chapo, or one of the drug pins.
Or was it Pablo Escobar?
Oh, no, Pablo Escobar, yeah. It was built here. His house is down the end of the runway. The amount of drugs that came through this place was incredible. Yeah.
Why do you think they chose the Bahamas at just kind of a halfway point?
Because it's, you only basically, you drop in here, drop stuff off, go up to Norman's Key, drop stuff off up there. So by the time you land at Norman's Key, you've got nothing. Yeah, you're not loading anything up. Or they, they could fool the DEA. Then again, there was a lot of DEA agents that were paid off by the drug groups, and that. So they managed to get away with it for a long time. So, but they own the islands. They own the Bahamian government. It's still there.
I know one official in the Bahamian government, I think he's still logged in there. He's probably from the drug guys.
To me, this is one of the nicest beaches down here in the Exumas. Yep. Africa there, but moving on fish, lobster, yeah.
So the Marine Research Center there is dealing with these rocks?
Yeah, the Stromatolites here, they're basically set up. This is a runoff, this is an offshoot of the old Stocking Island Marine Center. And what they're mostly looking at is the Stromatolites here on very few places in the world where these Stromatolites grow. This happens, this part of Exuma happens to be one place. Shark Island in Australia, another place, and I think there's another place up in Yemen, just off the Yemen coast, where these Stromatolites actually grow, or where they've actually discovered them.
I thought this was super interesting. The stromatolites are essentially living, layered rocks created by microorganisms. Here's a photo from the Bahamas. And as it says here, the only open marine environment where modern stromatolites are known to prosper is right here in the Exuma Keys in the Bahamas. Here's an article in Smithsonian talking about stromatolites, calling them the most ancient visible life forms on Earth, saying around 3.5 billion years ago they dominated shores around the world. So there you have it, a little biology, history, geology combined.
The ringtail going down on the beach.
Next, we walk to the other side of the island and we check out some of the views from over there.
Sitting here looking at it out over there. Yeah. There's Goat Island there. You can see it. Yeah.
What's the story with that one?
That's the one that belongs to Faith Hill now. Yeah.
So after looking up a bit more about these islands, I uncovered some very interesting history. In the 1980s, a lot of these islands were used as stepping stones to transport huge amounts of marijuana and cocaine from Colombia to the US. This guy, Carlos Later, is just one example. He was the number 2 man under Pablo Escobar in the Medellin cartel. He set up shop right here in the Exumas. Hundreds of kilos of cocaine would run through these islands daily. It was well over $1 billion industry. That's why when you look at aerial views on Google Earth, you'll see that many of these islands have old airstrips that were very active in the 80s. Anyway, that was a bit of a detour, but I just found it so interesting, the history of the drug trafficking through these islands. But let's get back to Dave and me as we continue to explore. So now we're going to check out the other island, which is about 100 meters away. My boat is here, we're going to take the dinghy over to here, and then we're going to walk down to this old castle, which is right here.
This landing up here was there's something to do with the resupply base for the Germans back in the Second World War. The Englishman who built the castle here, he was a Nazi sympathizer, and he built this place back in about 32, I think it was, and the U-boats would come in here, or just outside. They'd send their, I'm not quite sure how they did it, but they'd send their boats in, maybe inflatable boats or whatever they had down below, and he had gardens here, fruit and veggie gardens, everything. He had fuel dropped off, so they refuel and reload here. for their diesels for the generators, and that can get foodstuffs. And he basically operated it all the way throughout the war. I don't think anybody really stopped him. Anybody twigged to what was going on. There's a plan afoot by one of the buyers, people interested in buying this place, to rebuild the castle. When we get up there, we can show you around up there. It's a beautiful old place. It was a mansion back in the 20s and 30s, into the 40s, I guess, until they moved out, and the environment started pulling it apart. But you'll see.
Now you're saying this is where the area where they had submarines come in?
Yeah, they had subs come in alongside here, and then tie up to these were docks. Yeah. You can see here, the environment's pulling all this stuff apart too.
So this separate island is for sale, so if you're interested in buying the place. Only 40 million for this place, so it's a bargain.
Cracking open the concrete, yeah.
And tell me that again, what's the story?
They use some beach sand, yeah? And beach sand has got salt in it. And when they create these things, they use the rebar in it, then put the concrete around it. Trouble is, the sand starts eating away, corroding the concrete, the rebar. And the rebar, as it breaks down, it expands the rust and starts pushing the concrete apart. And that's when you lose all your foundations. You can see the cracks appearing in the building everywhere. Inside, yeah. That wood is hardwood. It's greenhouse from South America. Yeah. These door frames, really fortunate. These doors. Yeah, they don't make doors like this anymore. Yeah. That's the thing.
So tell me, what's the history behind this place again?
Well, it was built in the late 20s, early 30s, yeah, by this Englishman.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was a Nazi sympathizer.
Okay.
Yeah. And whether he built it pre-planned or not, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, before the war?
Before, yeah, the war. But he was, as Hitler was rising to power, this became more and more valuable to the Axis, I think. And people would come down here, Nazis, the Germans on holiday down here. You can see the floors falling up there, termites. Yeah, they would fly down here and vacation down here, and I guess the Germans and the Brits would holiday down here together and go over whatever they were talking about. Yeah. You can see the rebar here in the wall. Yeah, it's cracking up, and that it's breaking down like this, and that's forcing the concrete out as it breaks down. Yeah, it forces the concrete out and breaks on the wall. This is basically plaster. Yeah, here. This is plaster behind the concrete, and that bit with this rebar inside here. It's just forcing it all out. Is that my thing?
Ceiling's falling off, falling apart.
This was the main door that's coming in the entry hall. The main gate coming up here.
Flooring is a little nerve-wracking because
You're here, please.
we could fall through the flooring. Jesus. Because we don't want this to happen here, all this, as we step through.
Beautiful view in there. Oh yeah, just be careful there. There's soft spots there. You could go straight through. Yeah. See the other house over there?
Mm-hmm.
But you can enter anywhere through here if you're under about 5 foot or under. And that's what they call the flower pot in there. Yeah, that's you there. 2 or 3 boats out there. It's a shame it's turned into this, but if it was still a house, we wouldn't be here. How do you feel about bats?
We're gonna explore this cave. There's a lot of bats in here. These bats are known as Waterhouse's leaf-nosed bats. They are one of the most common species of bat in the Bahamas. They're medium-sized and identified by these long ears. This is like one of those, the grotto thing. This has really kept goats.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. That was a lengthy edit, so if you've made it this far, please subscribe for future episodes, and we'll see you next time.